For over 8 decades, the world has known Shirley Caesar as the undisputed queen of gospel, but a newly unearthed document from 1951 reveals a secret she's never shared on stage. What exactly was hidden in these family archives that nearly silenced the First Lady of Gospel before her career even began? Today, at 87 years old, Shirley Caesar is recognized globally as an institution of American music. Her jaw-dropping career spans more than 75 years of recording history, earning her 12 Grammy Awards, 15 Dove Awards, 14 Stellar Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award from the Recording Academy. Her latest monumental win in early 2026 for Best Gospel Performance alongside CeCe Winans on the soul-stirring track, Come Jesus, Come proved that her legendary vocal cords are still capable of shaking the heavens. But behind the triumphant stage presence, the elaborate robes, and the fiery sermonettes lies a complex reality that has recently taken a heartbreaking turn. In recent months, her loyal fans have noticed a sudden, alarming shift. Show dates have been quietly canceled, ticket refunds issued, and whispers of a final farewell have begun to circulate. To understand the true weight of her current silent battle and the mystery of the 1951 document, we have to peel back the layers of celebrity and look deep into the shadows of her childhood, where the very foundation of her destiny was nearly destroyed before she ever sang her first professional note. To comprehend the magnitude of Shirley Caesar's journey, one must understand the harsh reality of Durham, North Carolina, in the late 1930s and 1940s. Born on October 13, 1938, Shirley was the 10th of 13 children in a household that knew the crushing weight of systemic poverty and segregation. Her father, James Big Jim Caesar, was a highly respected tobacco worker who also served as a preacher and the lead singer of a local a cappella gospel quartet called the Just Come Four. He was a mountain of a man with a booming voice that could fill any church house, and he instilled in young Shirley a deep, burning passion for gospel music. But this happy childhood anchor was shattered when Shirley was only 7 years old. Her father suffered a catastrophic brain seizure. In the segregated South of 1945, emergency medical services were a luxury denied to black families. No ambulance would come to their home in Durham. Shirley had to watch in sheer, helpless terror as her older brothers laid her father's lifeless body on a wooden door slab to carry him out of the house. This devastating loss plunged the family into extreme financial peril. Her mother, Shirley Caesar, was a semi-invalid who suffered from severe physical disabilities, leaving her unable to work. Suddenly, the burden of feeding 13 mouths fell upon the children. Shirley, possessed of a voice far larger than her tiny frame, stepped forward. At just 7 years old, she began singing in local churches and high school programs to bring in any pocket change she could. They called her Baby Shirley. She had to stand on a wooden box or a kitchen table just so the congregation could see her over the pulpit. She lived a life of unimaginable grind, traveling on weekends to sing, surviving on a 5-cent cherry Coke and a single hamburger, and returning home to hand her meager earnings directly to her mother so the family could buy milk and bread before she hurried off to school on Monday morning. But wait, the legal traps of her childhood and the harsh realities of the Jim Crow South were not the only secrets Shirley Caesar had to carry. While her public life was defined by absolute triumph, a second, highly confidential document was uncovered in her personal files, revealing a silent medical crisis she kept hidden from the public for more than 50 years. Behind the scenes of her most iconic performances, Shirley was fighting a devastating physical diagnosis that threatened to permanently destroy her vocal cords. Doctors warned her that her uniquely aggressive, high-energy singing style was actively tearing her throat apart, and that she was just one performance away from losing her voice forever. Why did the First Lady of Gospel choose to suffer in absolute, agonizing silence while delivering some of the most physically demanding performances in music history? To understand how she beat the medical odds, we have to look at the exact document that started it all, the 1951 recording contract that launched her into this high-stakes world. This desperate struggle for survival set the stage for the dramatic creation of that 1951 document. In November of 1951, at the tender age of 12, Shirley's incredible local reputation as Baby Shirley caught the attention of Sid Nathan's legendary King Records, which operated the Federal Records subsidiary based out of Cincinnati. A talent scout realized that this tiny girl from Durham had an earth-shattering vocal power that could be highly profitable. They drew up a recording contract, the very document that is the key to her early career. But this contract, signed in 1951, was a double-edged sword that nearly derailed her life before it truly began. Legally, a 12-year-old child could not enter into a binding commercial agreement without a guardian, and in the Jim Crow South, major record labels routinely exploited young black artists, locking them into highly unfavorable terms that stripped them of their royalties and intellectual property. The label on her first 78 RPM record, featuring her debut tracks I'd Rather Have Jesus and I Know Jesus Will Save, condescendingly described her as a 12-year-old lass, even though she had actually just turned 13. This contract bound her to a relentless recording and touring schedule that forced her onto the road in an era of terrifying racial hostility. Shirley began traveling with a one-legged evangelist named Leroy Johnson, performing in rural churches throughout North and South Carolina. She was a child living in adult spaces, sleeping on the cold seats of commercial buses, wading through freezing nights in hostile bus terminals, and constantly navigating the threat of white supremacist violence. In 1954, while traveling to a performance in South Carolina, Shirley and her group were ambushed by a violent mob of white men who sought to beat them. She managed to escape by running into the dark woods, a harrowing experience that left deep emotional scars. The 1951 contract had thrust an innocent child into a meat grinder of commercial exploitation and physical danger, nearly silencing her voice out of sheer trauma and exhaustion before she could even reach adulthood. To fully appreciate the miracle of Shirley Caesar's vocal survival, one must understand the extreme physical demands of her unique style. Shirley did not merely sing gospel. She pioneered a raw, percussive vocal delivery that utilized intense nasal placement, sharp rhythmic shouting, and what vocal coaches call squalling. She famously achieved unique rhythmic effects by repeating consonants in rapid-fire succession, such as her legendary delivery of running in the midnight hour. This vocal technique requires massive subglottic pressure and places an extraordinary amount of sheer stress on the delicate vocal folds. For a typical singer, executing this style for even a brief period would lead to vocal cord hemorrhaging, severe nodules, or permanent scarring. Yet, Shirley did not have the luxury of resting her voice. In addition to her demanding global touring schedule, she felt a profound spiritual calling. In 1983, she married Bishop Harold Williams and took on the immense responsibility of co-pastoring the Mount Calvary Word of Faith Church in Raleigh, North Carolina. Her church services were not passive weekly gatherings. They were electrifying 3-hour marathons where she would preach, pray, run down the aisles, and sing at the top of her lungs. While other legendary vocalists of her era regularly underwent invasive surgeries to repair their damaged throats, Shirley flatly refused. She developed her own strict, secret regimen of absolute silence between speaking engagements, consuming specific herbal teas, and engaging in deep vocal rest. She managed to outsing and outlast almost every one of her contemporaries, turning her compromised physical instrument into a vessel of pure, miraculous endurance. Shirley's endurance is matched only by her technical and cultural adaptability. Long before the era of social media, Shirley mastered the complex art of the sermonette. This format allowed her to weave short, dramatic spoken-word sermons directly into her musical tracks, addressing pressing contemporary social issues such as poverty, family breakdown, and systemic inequality. Her 1975 masterpiece, No Charge, which featured a spoken-word dialogue about a mother explaining to her son that the cost of raising him was absolutely free, became a massive crossover hit, dominating both the R&B and country music charts. Decades later, this exact gift for dramatic, rhythmic speech would introduce her to an entirely new generation of fans. In late 26, her live performance of a sermonette went viral as the You Name It challenge, where her list of holiday foods, greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, became a massive internet sensation. Rather than filing lawsuits or resisting the digital wave, Shirley showed incredible business acumen by embracing the trend, launching her own line of holiday merchandise, and using the proceeds to fund her Shirley Caesar Outreach Ministries, which provides food, clothing, and shelter to thousands of families in need. She successfully bridged the massive gap between the analog era of 78 RPM records and the hyperfast algorithms of modern digital platforms. Throughout her journey, Shirley has repeatedly demonstrated a supernatural ability to turn obstacles into launching pads. A classic example of this occurred in 1958. Shirley was a student at North Carolina State College, majoring in business education with the goal of securing a stable career. One evening, The Caravans, the most famous female gospel group in the country led by the legendary Albertina Walker, came to Durham to perform. One of their lead singers was unable to make the show. Realizing this was her moment, 19-year-old Shirley wrote a note on a scrap of paper that read, "Please call Shirley Caesar up to sing a solo," and had it passed to Albertina Walker on stage. Walker, intrigued, called her up. When Shirley opened her mouth, her voice possessed such an explosive, raw authority that she brought the entire house down. Walker immediately offered her a permanent spot in the group. With her mother's blessing, Shirley left college and spent the next 8 years as the star soloist of the Caravans, learning the inner workings of the music industry and preparing herself to launch her historic solo career in 1966. It is this lifetime of pushing through brick walls that makes her recent health announcements in early 26 so incredibly poignant for her global audience. For a woman who spent 75 years refusing to slow down, her sudden absence from the pulpit and the stage signals the quiet arrival of a deeply personal transition. In the end, the newly uncovered details of her 1951 contract, her terrifying encounters in the Jim Crow South, and her silent physical battles do not diminish the icon of Shirley Caesar. They humanize her. They show that her title as the Queen of Gospel was not handed to her on a silver platter, but was forged in the fires of adversity, sacrifice, and unshakable determination. The 88-year secret of her life is not a scandal, but a testament to the miraculous power of a voice that refused to be silenced by poverty, industry exploitation, physical limitations, or the passage of time. As she steps back to rest her legendary instrument in 26, her voice remains an eternal pillar of American music. If you want to discover how another legendary singer faced down the darkest forces of the entertainment industry to protect her voice and her legacy, click on the video on your screen right now, and we will see you there.